William. I haven't filmed anything for a while, but my close friend Albert let me borrow his E39 M5 to drive around for a bit and possibly film a video. And then he just got done painting the whole front end again to, I think this paint coat is called the Le Mans Blue. There was a cat. It's kind of cold outside, negative degrees, so I brought the car to the shop, and this time I'm gonna make a quick video of things to check for when you're purchasing a used E39 M5, and hopefully I can put up on the lift and look what's underneath. So the E39 M5 is the M5 for the E39 body, of course, and then they made it from 2000 to like 2006, I believe. And then they only come with the 6-speed manual transmission, meaning the automatic transmission was not available for E39 M5. They all come with the 5-liter V8 engine with the dual Vano system. So it's a dual overhead cam V8 5-liter, which means you got actually 4 cams total, because they're 4-cylinder here, 4-cylinder here, 2 cams here, and dual Vanos layout, which is not like the E36 M3 for the US, where it only has 1 Vanos. So you got the intake Vanos here, exhaust Vanos here, and then same thing for the other side. And also, just like pretty much all the other M cars, this S62 engine, which I think it is, comes with the individual throttle body, where if you take this top plenum out, you'll see the individual throttle body runner. I think 3's over here, 3 over here, and then 1's over here, and then the other one's over there. And then the air box is over here. So common things to check on an engine bay. Of course, the engine, it's got to run. The common things that go bad on these cars is the Vanos unit. They start chattering. I'm chattering at a certain point. It will start to make noise, idling. Kind of sounds like a, timing belt chattering to each other pretty much. And that could cost quite a bit of money, because as you can see, that Vanos unit does not look pretty easy to get to, and that whole unit has to come out and needs to be replaced. Also, the whole general issue with this area V8, it's just like the M62 B44 engine or the S62 engine. The timing chain guide goes bad. They're made out of plastic. And the plastic just comes apart because of the high heat and lack of oil lubrication, and then eventually the chain guide comes apart and your chain will be slacking. Worst case, it could do some more damage to the engine. I don't think the Vanos unit allows the car to skip timing, so I don't know if that will happen, but that's that. This is the cabin filter unit. One filter over here, the other filter over there. ABS unit is over here. This Bosch thing right here is the ABS computer module, pretty much. And then there's a connector. And then, as you can see, the location... Kitty! The location of this thing, you can see, is right on top of the exhaust headers. It can catch a lot of heat. And then as the thing cools up and heats up and cools down, heats up and cools down, a couple solder can come off, and then that could cause the whole ABS unit to not work, and same with the other things like the traction controls and other things to malfunction. And it's a pretty common issue on these cars. And the cooling system is just like pretty much any other BMW, is something that breaks quite often compared to other cars. So you got the clutch fan belt and the clutch fan over here, and then you got the water pump in there. I got a flashlight. So the water pump is that unit over there where it bolts onto the clutch fan pulley, and then the thermostat is also part of it. And this engine has a 2 temperature sensor, I think, to tell you that the thermostat is working properly or not. The radiator, of course, is over here, which I replaced the radiator on this car, I think last year or something, where it started cracking over here. So all those things are pretty easy to tell because you start driving and then the car starts to overheat or something, and that means you might have to check the head gasket to know that the previous owner didn't drive too long while the car was overheating. I don't know the too detailed story on these headlights, but they're plastic, and some of the E46 and the E38 come with the adjustable headlight, but I don't know if it was an option for the E39 unit. This specific vehicle came with the front parking distance sensor and the rear parking distance sensor, which should be both work. The way they work is you go into the inside, and then there's a PDC button over here, and when that PDC button is lit up, that means the parking distance sensor is working, and it will start to create two different tones of noises, one for the front, one for the rear, and the way they work is pretty much just the other ones. The more you get closer to it, the faster it's going to start to beep. There's my other flashlight. So this is the rear end. The M5 is pretty distinctive, you know, in terms of it only is the only E39 that came with the dual exhaust, one over on this side, one over on this side. And to compensate for that, you can see there's no spare tire. Regular E39s would have a big spare tire area over here, which this one doesn't. The body is pretty similar to the rest of the E39. The E39 M5 has a different side mirror, which is a little bit more aerodynamic than the other ones. So now the car is up on the air, and then let's go underneath and see what's underneath the car. So the engine bay has a two plastic shield plate thing. There's one over there. I think this one covers up a transmission and the engine, and this one's a front the skid plate thing for the front. So there's not much you can see unless you take out these Phillips screw bolts, which I'm not going to, but you can kind of see what's over there. The upper control arm is right here. The lower control arm is right here. That goes to this one. This bushing, as you can see, is this lower frame design is actually quite different from the 3 Series, where it has that little L-shaped lower control arm, which has a point over there, point over here, point over here. This one is just like the E34 or E28 5 Series in terms of their suspension design. So you got an upper control arm over here, there's a bushing over there, bushing over here, lower control arm here, and then the front sway bar goes all the way to the other side, and then the tie rod over here. Unfortunately, these cars also come with the steering box, just like the E39 540i or the E34 540i, and they are servotonic, steering box, which means I think you can adjust the sensitivity of the gearbox with the fluid pressure. I'm not too sure. The gearbox, the gear spline is over here, and then I assume the gearbox is around here. So if you start to feel a lot of play on the steering, there could be multiple of things, which could be the bushing or the steering box itself. The power steering fluid leak is a very common issue, and this specific car also has a leak on the power steering fluid system. This is a driver's side motor mount, and as you can see, there's a fluid over here. There's one over there. There's just kind of fluid area. In general area, you can see there was a lot of oil leak before, and still there is. And then this is something that leaks more when the car is stopped. So when the car was parked for a long time and you look underneath on the driver's side, and you see kind of like a purplish, like an automatic trans fluid kind of color of fluid, that's probably means the power steering is leaking. The 6-speed 420G transmission, yeah, the name of the transmission is 420G. It's the same transmission they use on the E46 M3 and then the E39 or the E34 540i. And then the manual transmission is right here, and you can see the transmission mounts are kind of hard to see, but you can feel it. It's up on the air around here. Yeah, you can feel the bushing over here. If the bushing is torn, you can visually see it. It's kind of hard, but you can kind of see up there. It's about here. The flex disc, the guibo, what they call it, flex disc is right here, and that's also made out of rubber. And you can see the rubber will start to crack when they start to age. The center support bearing is not something that you can see because of the heat shield. The catalytic converter, there are two of them right here. There's no catalytic converter up here. You can see the headers coming down, merges into two pipes, and this is a true dual exhaust. There's a wide type of resonator, and then one exhaust leads through these two pipes, and the other exhaust pipe leads to that pipe. I put the handbrakes on this car, so I can't demonstrate the LSD, but these cars all come with the LSD limited slip differential from the factory, and this is the differential as you can see over here, and then this is the drive shaft coming from the transmission. The lower control arm on the back has 4 bushings. There's one bushing over here, the other bushing over here, the other 2 here. And then as you can see, the rear suspension design is pretty different from the previous generation, like the E34 or the E28. This lower control arm is a big H-shaped control arm that is a lot more stiffer than the E34 or the E28. And as you can see, the BMW put a little bit of spacer thing on the rear subframe bushing to even further this, to minimize the chassis, to minimize the body roll on the rear. As you can see, there's another kind of a, reinforcement bar over there. So, because of BMW's effort trying to get rid of the body roll, this car is a lot more easier to drift, and I should say more tail happy than the previous ones. And also the engine has 400 horsepower at the crank and over 350 foot-pounds of torque, which means this thing is a monster when you step on the gas pedal. The tire stock size on the rear, this is the stock M5 wheel, is a 275 rear tires, and then I think the front ones are 245 or 255. So that's pretty much what's underneath the car. The brakes are single piston, I think, and this is the front brake. The rotor itself is huge because you have to consider that this wheel is actually 18-inch, and it's almost filling up the whole 18-inch rim. So I think the size of the rotor itself is at least 13-inch. Because of this is a single piston, and M5 is not very rare car, the brake components are relatively cheap, and the whole car is considered pretty cheap to maintain in terms of the fact that it's a BMW. And like the radiator I bought, it was a quality radiator that I only paid $150, and even from the dealership it was only like $400 to buy the radiator. Because of there are a lot of cars that a lot of these M5 sold in here, it's pretty easy to get the parts, and it's also pretty easy to do the repair, since you can find a lot of information online, and it's not very hard engine to work on, excluding the fact it has a big V8, so some of the stuff is really hard to get to, like the motor mount top bolts. Those are probably really hard to get to. A couple things you want to check is the bearing condition. Just put it up on the jack stand or something, and then trying to move the wheels back and forth. And then if you have any movement side to side, that could be the wheel bearing or the tie rod is loose, and same for the back. So the car's coming down, as you can see. It's got the fog light over here, same on the other side, and then the parking distance sensor, one over here, one over here, and then it's got the headlight fluid washer. It's got the headlight washer fluid thing nozzle over here, and this is actually on the same line and under the same motor as the windshield washer nozzle things, which is over here. So if that's unplugged or not working for some reason, then you might get a warning light, or your windshield fluid washer might not work or create very low pressure. So we're gonna go to the inside, basically just tell you this kind of feature on the inside of this car, so you can check what to look for. So here's a 6-speed transmission, first gear, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, reverse, handbrake over here. The spring mechanism over here that adjusts this button sometimes doesn't. Oh wow, look at that. Yeah, it doesn't come out like this one. That's a common issue. The seat tilt is just like the E34 area. The E39 also has a seat tilt issue where you try to recline the seat back and forth, and the seat would only incline up one side or the other side. Same thing with the E34. They have two wires that are pulling and pushing by threaded metal wire to make the seat incline up and down and then tilt back and forth. That goes bad, and then you can tell because you get into the seat and now the seat's not going to work properly. I think this dash unit is aftermarket, so it's not factory, I think, because of this thing, but it's a double din just like the E46. The climate control is over here, and then this is the sport. This sport button, as you see, this one right here is the gas pedal button. So these things, the throttle body, the gas pedal, is not driven by a mechanical wire. It's got an electric sensor on it. So if that's not working, your gas pedal might not feel right, where you push the gas pedal and it doesn't do anything. So because it's electric, this computer can adjust the sensitivity of that pedal with the sports button. So when you're driving regularly, you have the gas and the engine would open the throttle body only like this much, where you push the sport button and then you push about the half the gas, now the throttle body only opens a lot more. So it will feel more crisp. The DSC is, I think it's called, stands for Dynamic Stability Control or something. It's basically what it is, the traction control. So you turn that off and then you'll see the traction control unit coming up over there. Make sure that's working. Same thing with the PDC. And then the heated seats, the switch is over here for the driver's side and over there for the passenger side. And then the cruise control buttons over here, and this is the radio commands. The window switch is over here, not like on the other ones where the window switch is on the center. I think they're all automatic, up and down. Could be wrong. The side mirror switch is over here, and that's pretty much it. And then the seat memory function key is over there. And then the mirrors are heated, if I'm correct, and they're always on. The defroster and air conditioning is over here. The automatic climate control unit is over here. That is actually tire pressure gauge thing. I don't know how that works. The fog light switch is right here, and then the headlight switch is right over here. And this is the cluster. Let me turn on the car a little bit so you can see. There we go. So you got the this whole digital gauge unit goes out where the pixels start to go bad. This was a very common issue on an E39. So if you get a car and then all these numbers are invisible or not readable because some of the pixels are there, that's a common issue, and this could come a little tricky when you're buying this E39 car or the M5, because you don't know how many miles this car actually has. This specific model, this specific car has every light that's working, meaning probably it was replaced some point before. And then there's a light over here that tells you if the engine's ready to go pretty ham or something. Now the fuel gauge is over there, the check engine light. Make sure when you turn on the car, this is a common thing for every car, make sure I don't see on this car, but there's got to be a check engine light. Make sure that bulb is working. And then a couple other things Since it's a BMW, you want to make sure all the windows are working properly. These window seals needs to be lubricated every once in a while, otherwise when you go over the bumps and stuff, it's going to start to make this little jittering noises everywhere. On the back seat, there's nothing fancy. It's kind of dark because those lights are off, but the armrest is over here. There's no heated seats or the seat reclining thing for the rear seats. Got the window switches over there on both sides, and it's got the courtesy light over there, the reading light over there, and that's pretty much it for the back. The moonroof is over here, and then the switch is over here. Make sure that's working flawlessly, and if it gets stuck or set to making some weird noises, that means there's probably something stuck. Same thing for the window. If you roll it down and then you roll it up, you heard that ting, and then you do that for all 4 windows. So when you hear any noises coming up or going down, that means probably the regulator is hitting on something. Could be a wire, or it could be the window clip or something is coming loose. That means the window probably is going to go out eventually pretty soon. The steering wheel is adjustable. Over here is a switch, kind of hard to see. There's a switch over here where you can pull it. You can pull it forward to make it come forward, or you can push it in to make it go in, and it can also go up and down. And then you can set it to wherever you want it to be, which also moves with the seat memory, if I'm correct. And then when you turn off the key, as you can see, the steering goes all the way up so you can get in and out easier. That's pretty much all I covered, all I can think of on an E39 M5. This certainly is not my car, so you know, there's not much that I can give you guys in terms of, you know, there's some other things that go out easily on this car that I might forgetting or something. Also, another thing, this thing has a little fluid where it goes, it does, it's like a self-dimming thing, and there's a sensor over here where you can see. Let me turn off this light. As you can see, there's a little sensor thing over here. This can go bad, which caused that to malfunction. That's also one of the things to check. And then when you're driving around, you want to make sure, just, you know, take it to the pretty high speed, you know, like highway speed, and then slam on the brakes to see if the ABS is working, or the brake rotor is not, you know, vibrating or anything. Make sure the car drives pretty straight, and then the steering feels pretty solid and doesn't feel light or feels loose, or it feels like it's pulling to one side or the other. And then make sure the engine sounds okay, and then the Vanos ticking noise is something that you can look it up on Google and then listen to other Vanos ticking noise to what it sounds like. This specific car, the owner deleted the muffler, so it kind of sounds weird. Probably shouldn't do that in the garage, but this engine itself is pretty quiet. So there's, you know, this car was taken care of pretty well. 157,000 miles on it, and it's got really nothing wrong with it. He brings it to me to do some of the maintenance work here and there, and it's a very well taken care of car. Oh, and then he put an HID on it. So yeah. I might be forgetting some of the things. That's what the trunk looks like. The light over here, I think that's the navigation CD. I don't know. Do these cars come with spare tires? I don't know. But that's pretty much it. The toolbox is right there. This is one of the things that enthusiasts care to make sure it has every single tool. This one doesn't, but that's that. So if I'm forgetting some things, please comment, and to make sure other people know the other specific things to check on an E39 M5. But that is pretty much it. Thanks for watching the video, and I'm gonna rev up some couple times because it sounds pretty cool. And yep. Woo. That just sounds too good. Thanks for watching.